An entire family wiped out on New Year's Day in what a lot of people are calling a clean assassination. What happened to Mr. and Mrs. Kehinde Fatinoye on the 1st of January 2023, on the very morning of New Year?
Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
This case is currently ongoing. It's a mystery. The police do not have an answer as to who may have been involved in this gruesome killing. How this man, a former central bank employee, and his entire family were wiped out in just one night. I have a lot of insights about this particular case, especially on the nature of the murder. And we will get to that. But first of all, let's talk about everything that we know regarding this case. So it's 31st December. Everyone go for crossover night in their church at Okejigbo in Ogun State. So after the church, they decide to go home, and they live in one of a very secured neighborhood in GRA, government reserved area, in an housing estate. So this neighborhood that they live is supposed to be a secured one that is a government reserved area in the capital city of Ogun State. But it turned out that these gunmen, these assassins, may have followed them home, or probably may have been waiting for them when they arrived. Because maybe if they were being followed, they would have noticed, or maybe not, because everyone is returning from crossover night that early morning. And so when they go home to their house, that is when the killers strike. Clearly, this might be one of those armed robbery seeming situation where everyone is held at gunpoint, but we don't know that for a fact. What we do know is that Mr. Kehinde and his wife were instantly murdered. It's not clear if they were killed before they set the house on fire, or if they set the house on fire with them in it. But what we know is many moments later, after this New Year celebration and after them returning home, their house was seen on fire, set on fire, burning. People rushes to set it off, pour water, call the firefighters, and the firefighters come and they put everything out, and they discover that this man and his wife's body had been burnt beyond recognition. Now, there were two other people per se that were said to be with them. It's not clear how many children that they had, but they had two sons from what is being said. However, they had already lost a son the previous year in 2022, early in the year, and they had mourned the loss and they had moved on. So they had another of their son, their first son, with them, with a family friend. Some sources said housemaid, and some sources said a relation, a cousin that was with them. And I kind of want to believe it's a cousin because this is a period of time that relations are always coming around. So those were the two other people that were said to be with them in the house. However, when the people put out the fire and they realized that, okay, this man and his wife had been murdered, they did not see the children. They didn't see the boys, the son and the family friend or maid or houseboy or whoever that person was. They did not see them, which gave the impression that those two may have been abducted or kidnapped. And there is a chance that other things may have revealed so. And I will explain why I think maybe the neighbors or the security team at the estate gate may have seen or realized that, okay, those two boys had been kidnapped. Because obviously, these criminals and these monsters may have entered from somewhere, and they also may have left from somewhere. So someone saw something. And in a house where this man might be living, it might be probably one of the most secure places in Ogun State there. So I'm sure they have security team at the estate gate or the compound gate or somewhere. So there is a chance that people saw the boys enter into a vehicle and leave with a group of people. But what we know is it was soon speculated that the boys were abducted and kidnapped by the assailants, and a few days later, it turned out that they were both found. Unfortunately, Mr. Kehinde's son would not be found alive. He was later found in a river in a nearby village around the state capital. However, the unnamed relation, the other person, the maid, the family friend, the relative that was with them was rescued and found alive. It turned out that the both of them had been thrown into a river, but only one could swim out, which was the relative. There is still something off with the details surrounding the discovery of these two abducted boys from the house of Mr. Kehinde. Now, that is the story. That is what we know now regarding how Mr. Kehinde and his wife were killed and burnt beyond recognition and their children abducted. What we don't know is who is behind it, the motive behind it and the possible accomplices to this case. Because let me tell you, to commit such a crime, you must have been planning it. Now, it's possible Mr. Kehinde may have had enemies. This was a man who worked in Central Bank of Nigeria at the time, and Central Bank of Nigeria is a big deal. Is it possible that he had enemies, or he crossed some line, or he stepped on some people's feet and they are trying to get back at him? Is it possible they stole or robbed his house? Because it's not clear if this is a robbery. It's not clear if this is just plain assassination. The police, as at this very moment of making this video, are still launching their investigation. They claim to have a suspect in their hands. There is a chance that this story may develop as we go. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel should there be a future update. I will be happy to update you guys. But let's get into my own perception or my own thoughts or how I view this. See, there is something about killing people on specific event days. When someone is murdered on their birthday or on a celebratory day or on a wedding or on a New Year's Day like this, it kind of indicates, in my own thought and imagination, or from what I've seen that is common, it's kind of indicative of the possibility that whoever the assailant or the assassins or the killer is hurt and wants to punish or get back at the victim. They could have killed him any other day, and they most likely could have done this many months or weeks before. So targeting a specific day of celebration to end someone's life and family, it's more than just robbery, if you ask me. It's something that a lot of cults do, that we see in movies, where they wait for a particular target to graduate before they end his life or kill him. They could have done it any other day. They could have done it on the day of exam. They could have done it on the day where he's just walking on the street in a restaurant. But they wait for the day of the graduation when they see the final result, and then they do it. It's more of the impact than more of the motive. So the fact that this man and his wife and his entire family were targeted on New Year's Day, there is a possibility that whoever did this has been hurt directly and wanted to just get back at him. That is the first way I see it. If this was a case of robbery, they would have just robbed this man and left without having to burn him, take his children and relatives to kill them. So this looks like, okay, we really want to wipe out this family, punish them, make him suffer, and feel good about ourselves. That is a very possible motive behind this. But another way too to see it is, maybe this man had information and maybe they needed to get something from him, and maybe the child also knows about the information, and that is why they took him and the relative along. But that explanation is not very strong as compared to the reason why the children were taken away from the home. And this is what I can understand, or this is how I can explain it. The odd thing about the boys being abducted while the parents were killed in the house, it seems to me like they could have just burnt everyone in the house. They could have just killed everyone in the house. But I feel like whoever came into this estate, who came into this compound, they have come in with them, the Mr. Kehinde themselves. It feels odd because I want to believe their estate is very secured. It's almost as if the people needed the boys in order to get out of the estate or get away with it. They go to the family, they do what they want to do, torture the man, burn him and kill him and all of those things. But at the same time, they need to leave the estate. And maybe they needed to go with the boys so that the estate security could let them out. But that would mean something. It would mean that these boys needed to not be tied. These boys needed to just be put on a bail up where they can cooperate with them until they leave. Because it did not seem like they did anything with them. Their organs weren't cut off. They weren't shot or killed. They weren't stabbed. They were just thrown in the river. More like, okay, we're done with you now, go. If that is the method in which they got rid of these boys, it shows that they only needed them to get away from what they had come to do. Because one of them survived, which means they probably never meant to kill them, unless maybe they did, because there is a particular details about the two boys being found that we will talk about in a moment. But the thing now is, if those two boys knew that their parents were already dead, I don't think they would have willingly followed these men. Personally, if I know these people had already killed someone with me, there's no need to give them a pass. I'm going to scream, shout and yell and make sure that everyone knows. But I think before the boys left the house, they were under the assumption that their parents were still alive. So which means that this group of assassins had come to do what they wanted to do. Either that or they took the boys away before they killed the family or killed the parents. and it seemed like somebody needed to be there for it to happen. A job like this where you kill someone and set it on fire, half the time somebody is around the corner making sure that the job is done well. And he will probably be the one to make the call and go, all right, it's done now, they've been confirmed dead, you can let the boys drown or go. And that could have been the case, because what we know about these two abducted boys being abducted and being found is that one of them was found dead and the other one was found alive. And the one that was found dead was the direct and the legitimate son of Mr. Kehinde and his wife. And the one that was found alive was the relative or the relation or the boy who was with them. And the reason why the son was found dead, or what is being said was the cause of his death, was drowning. He wasn't shot, he wasn't stabbed. They were both thrown into the water and one drowned. However, the one that drowned had his hands and leg tied, which meant he couldn't swim with his hands and leg tied. And the one that survived wasn't tied, according to what we know. Maybe he was tied and he released himself, but words are he wasn't tied. And that was why he was able to swim to somewhere he could get help. And that detail is what is making a lot of people raise their eyebrow. It's almost like, okay, you weren't tied. Why wasn't he tied? And why was the other one tied? It's kind of letting people question a lot of things. And to be fair, we are happy he's alive. Maybe he does not know what happened. Maybe he's not a suspect. Maybe he's not. But it's hard to not question this as to why these kidnappers or murderers or assassins did not tie his hands. There are two explanations. Maybe he was not part of the family. Maybe they really wanted to target the family. Maybe he knows nothing, or maybe he's not complicit in the things that maybe this man, Mr. Kehinde, may have done to anyone, because he's had to be very rich and powerful without having a few enemies. I'm sure the man might have had a few. And maybe that was why they let the relative go, because he's not part of the family. That is one explanation. There could also be a chance that he might be the informant. He might be the one who knows these people who came in. Because I can say this, and I will always say this, enemies are closer than we think. For someone to get this man like this, they must have gotten so close to him. It's not just a random neighborhood where thieves lay around. That's what I feel. It's not just that kind of a neighborhood. To do this kind of thing and get away with it, you must have earned the trust of this man and his wife. Unless you're a random armed robber who came to steal money, that is a different case. But this looks too organized to just be a random act of robbery. And to be disorganized, you kind of need someone on the inside. It's that simple. Maybe they all came into the house and they were all sleeping, and somebody went to open the door for their people. But that is the second explanation. At the same time, this said relative guy could also be innocent. But the good thing now is, if he is innocent and knows nothing about what really happened to the family, he knows information now. He knows the people who kidnapped them. He remembers faces. He wasn't blindfolded, most likely. He remembers voices. He remembers location. So I feel like even if he's not complicit in this, he knows something. And the police can get enough information and details from him that could help them crack this case down. And I hope they do get the information that they need from him. I do hope they're able to ask the right questions and not just treat him as just a survivor, because the good thing that he has is life. So even if people suspect him, it's just for a while until the truth is out. But he should not just be ignored and let go easily, because I learned he's not a child. He's grown. He's probably older than the first son of Mr. and Mrs. Kehinde, but we are not sure. Or around the same age. And this is not a child. This is a grown-ass adult or teenager, most likely. So I feel like the police need to keep an extra eye on him. Maybe check his own relatives, or check his own uncle, or check his own dad, or check people who know him and see if maybe they know something. Because for him to survive, maybe it's planned or part of it. Maybe he wasn't a target, or maybe he needed to act like part of the people abducted. Because if you look at it this way, if they meant to kill the entire family and he was there, they would not burn him in the house. And if the house burnt down and Mr. Kehinde and his wife burnt along with their son, and this boy doesn't burn, people are going to look at him differently. People are going to think he set the fire. So the best way to save an informant, or the best way to save somebody you have inside the house, in the carcass that is part of your plan, is to make them look like a victim too who survived. And since they probably can't burn him or give him with a little burn or shoot his hand, I guess throwing one child into the river with his hands tied and throwing another one who can swim without his hands tied is one way to do it, to make it look like, oh, he too is a victim. That is one way to see it. I'm happy he's alive. Hopefully he's innocent, and glory be to God, he still has information. However, guys, this story is as mysterious as it gets. It's painful and it's just shocking that this could happen, especially in a secure neighborhood like where this man and his wife lived. Many people believe that this is in-house. This is people who knows him directly, and I believe that too. Some people are of the opinion that this could just be a random targeted act of armed robbers who wanted to steal money and get away with it and cover up their tracks. And part of burning a house with victim in it is not just to torture, it's also to get rid of evidence, get rid of proof that they were ever there. And that usually happens if it's somebody who knows these things. If it's somebody who is in the house, there could be a lot of evidence that they are there, and the best way to do it is kill the man and his wife and set it ablaze. It's an unfortunate situation, an unfortunate incident, but you guys let me know your thoughts, let me know how you feel, share your ideas or what you think this case could have been, the motive, the people behind it. Let's see if we can have explanation as to what all this is all about, and maybe you can also share your theory regarding the surviving relative that isn't, part of the family. Because right now, this is an entire family side wiped off. Maybe for inheritance. Maybe if this man and his entire family go, somebody gains something. Maybe they need to check who stands to gain the most. Because these people, as much as they worked in central bank, there could be a family wealth thing. I don't know. It's a lot of stone to unturn. It's a lot of stone to uncover. The police have a lot of work to do, and we will be following this case. So make sure you like, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Thank you guys for watching. You can check our channel for more videos like this. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Thank you.